Welcome to Painting with Jameson.
What are you painting today?
A galaxy.
Okay, and Jackson, what are you gonna paint today?
Huh? Oh, a galaxy too.
Hey guys, this is Janie, and today we are painting with kids, specifically my nephews. We decided to make Galaxies today. This is a super fun project, but it's probably an activity for kids age 7 and up. Jameson is 7 and Jackson is 8. They took a lot of supervision and they made a big mess, and it was so fun, and it took about 1 hour. So the first thing we did was we had to tape down the paper. This keeps it from flying everywhere, and it keeps us a little bit more controlled. I always put the tape on their arms a bit first, so we stick, and that way it makes it a little less sticky, and it keeps it from ripping the paper once we pull it off. Next, we have to put out our paints. So Jackson and Jameson picked their own paint. We want 4 colors, going from lightest to darkest. Jameson chose yellow and green to be his first 2 colors, and Jackson chose pink and magenta, and I always like the 2 darkest colors to be blue, and maybe more of a darker gray black color. So we have cobalt blue and indigo, and those are our first steps. So this is honestly a pretty simple process. What we had them do first was they wet their paper, they took their paintbrush and they made it nice and wet everywhere, and that's going to give the paint room to move around, because watercolors, once you put it on a paper, it'll move wherever it is wet. So we made the whole entire paper wet, and we started to drop in first our lightest color, and we just put that right in the middle. Now I leave a little bit of white usually. It gives a little more depth, like we're looking into a light source. You don't have to, but I like that. So they put down their lightest color. Jameson put down his yellow, Jackson put down his pink. Then, once they have their lightest color kind of drop down on the paper, then they take their second lightest color. For Jameson it was cobalt green, or Cascade green, and for Jackson it was quinacridone magenta, and they put that around the lightest color. So we're almost making a circle with rings. So our first ring is light, our second ring is our darker color. After that, we put in our cobalt blue and we tap that in, and we're trying to go farther and farther out. Now any white space left around the outside of the paper, we are going to fill that in with our darkest color, okay? And of course, once that's done, then it's time to dry. Make sure it's completely dry. Take your blow dryer, really take the time for that, because we can't move on before it is dry. Our next step is just a repeat of our first layer. So we go ahead and we start to take our lightest color and we build up a second layer of color. So we start towards the middle and we put that yellow or that pink down in almost a ring. We can make it messy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to actually be circles, right? Then next we're going to drop in our darker color, that Cascade green, that quinacridone magenta. Then once we have that ring around, we're going to put in the blue, and finally back in those corners we're going to put in our gray. Now you can see me kind of stepping in every once in a while, and I'm helping. I'm putting in a little more of that dark indigo color, and I'm letting it bleed into other parts, and I'm taking some of their light colors and I'm putting it out into the darker. You can go ahead and just drop things. The point is we want there to be kind of a distinction, right, of the colors. We want to see that there are certain clouds that are all pink, and we want to see that it gets lighter as you go further in. but you really can drop that color anywhere you want. This is going to look messy until it doesn't. And once we're done with that second layer, then it's time to dry again. Make it completely dry and make sure that there are no wet spots, because our next step is putting on white stars. And now comes the fun part. So around this time was when Jameson was telling me, wow, Janie, this looks like a huge mess. And I had to remind him of what I've been saying since the very beginning. This is going to look like a huge mess until it doesn't, and these stars are what's going to tie it all together. So I took white India ink and I shook it up really well, and I put a little bit of it in their little palette tray. Then we made our paintbrush nice and wet. We mixed that into the white India ink. We put our paintbrush above a practice sheet of paper, and that is honestly one of the most important parts. You need to have a practice sheet to make sure that you're not going to make big blobs, that you know exactly how hard you have to hit that paintbrush in order to get the splatters. So you're going to take a second paintbrush, and all you're going to do is you're going to hold it above your paper, and you're just going to tap, 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 and that's going to transfer some droplets onto the page. Once you've practiced that a couple times and they feel like they really know how to get it, then you can move that practice sheet like Jackson is doing, and you can go ahead and tap, 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 and you can create as many stars as you want. Now honestly, at this point, the more the merrier. Really get those stars everywhere. We want a sky that has thousands of stars. And once you do, you're going to see how this is really tying it together. And finally, the last very fun step that everyone likes, I have a white gel pen. They're really fun. I highly recommend having one. But I took my white gel pen and the kids started to draw in actual star shapes. Jameson drew in some nice little planets. Jackson wrote his name nice and big, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. As many stars as they want, as many other shapes, and those are our final steps for these particular paintings. And now they are absolutely done. I hope they enjoyed making their very own galaxy paintings. You can follow me on Instagram at Janie Illustration, and you can check back here periodically. Throughout the quarantine, I'm going to be making little videos, and I'm certainly going to try to do more with my nephews before I leave and go back to Savannah to go back to school. So check back in whenever you want. Try these at home. Tag me. Let us know how you did. I'm going to show Jackson and Jameson all the responses, so be sure to leave us a lot. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and that you are staying safe and staying socially distant while also making creative decisions. Have a good day.